Sometimes life takes a sharp turn you never saw coming. One moment you're chasing the dream you planned, and the next, you're standing on an unfamiliar road wondering, God, what now?
And it can feel scary, like everything just fell apart. But sometimes the detour is actually the beginning of something more beautiful than what we imagined.
Today, we're talking about those moments when God rewrites your path and how to find peace, even when the map changes.
Because if he changes your direction, it's not to punish you, it's to lead you somewhere better.
So take a breath, settle in, and come walk this stretch of the road with us.
Life is a journey filled with twists, turns, and the miles in between.
And every mile matters, especially the ones we walk together.
I'm Tammy Sermon.
And I'm Michael Sermon.
Welcome to Every Mile with You.
This is where we share real conversations about relationships, resilience, and the everyday challenges we face.
And the joy, laughter, and love that carry us through.
From the big milestones to the quiet moments that mean the most.
We're here to encourage you, inspire you, and remind you
you're never walking alone.
Wherever we wander, we walk side by side.
Welcome to Every Mile with You. I'm Michael.
And I'm Tammy.
This is our little corner of the world where we slow down, breathe deep, and talk about the real stuff, the twists, turns, and tender moments that shape our journey.
Around here, it's not about having it all figured out. It's about showing up for each other, even when the road changes.
And today we're talking about something that hits close to home for both of us, those moments when God completely rewrites your path.
We've walked through a few of those ourselves, and they were not easy, but they've also become some of the most beautiful chapters of our story.
So if you've ever found yourself on an unexpected detour, this conversation's for you.
Grab your coffee, settle in, and come walk this mile with us.
So today, baby, I want to talk about the unexpected detours. You know, there's a lot of times in our lives that we had a path laid out and we thought we were shooting a certain direction, and seemingly out of nowhere, things changed.
Yes.
Right? So if you think about the company I was with when COVID hit, all right, COVID rearranged all of our lives.
It devastated so many.
It did, right? But we had a path worked out. We knew what we were going to do, how it was going to go. In fact, I even met with my boss, the CEO, the night before, or one night, and we walked through what the long-term incentive plan was going to be, right? What the plans were going to be. We had everything mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
And the very next morning, I get a call and said, oh, by the way, we eliminated your job, right?
Right.
It was a hard, tough decision, but we did it. And the truth is, we'd already laid out a plan. We laid out a path and a map. Suddenly now we don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we did like always. We pulled back in and we just kind of went through the COVID stuff. And then that opportunity opened in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to Missouri thinking, okay, we're going to be here for just who knows how long.
Yes, I think we're just jumping ahead a little too quickly, because I think a lot of times people, they need a sense of where you really found yourself. And so I just don't want to just jump past that, because a lot of people may feel like we were living in Claremore, that we were not in the middle of major renovations in a town that was 2.5 hours away. And we had a major game plan set in place that was going to completely be able to set us up for success after you left the secular world.
Right.
And so we were in the middle of doing renovations on an old historic library. We were going to change that into a wedding event center.
Right.
And we lived had a small lake cottage that was about 15 miles away in a little town named Worcester. And we were going to live in the cottage and then run.
Right.
We were going to run the wedding event center. And
sell our house here in Claremore.
Yes. And we were going to relocate.
Right.
So that's just to kind of give everyone a real bird's eye view as to what was seriously going on in our lives.
Our sweet idyllic path. Right.
Yes, that was our ultimate path. We wanted to be able to be our own boss at some point in our lives.
So we took the cottage and we turned it into an Airbnb, generate revenue. It actually did really well with that. other than the fact that we were 2.5 hours away trying to manage it.
Yes, the upkeep, because we were doing everything on our own. Because and once again, I feel like we're just kind of we kind of jumped a little ahead, because Michael did want to. He had a game plan of working with the company that he was at the moment, that really set us up for success. That was causing us to be able to do all these things.
That's true.
And so we were able to actually hire a team to help us, where it normally would have taken us years to complete all of these renovations and things. We were able, gratefully, because of the position you were in, we were able to hire a team to help us.
That's true.
Move forward quicker than what we would have been able to on our own.
Right. And then, just to be clear, right, I'm telling this story and it sounds like, just kind of Pollyanna moment.
It was not a Pollyanna moment.
It was not. It was suddenly the road is gone. Suddenly what I identified myself with was gone. Right.
Yes.
And to make it worse, not only did I separate from the company, but everybody who I was friends with, and I'm giving air quotes there, at the company suddenly cut off all contact.
Well, I think everyone was going through a really tumultuous time in their lives, everyone, because 2020 just kind of it burst a lot of people's bubbles.
Right.
And it turned a lot of people's lives upside down, not only in their home life, but in their work life as well, because they were so accustomed to living a certain way, and every one of our worlds just were rocked. And so when you do have those personal interconnections, you may have a tendency to look at things from your own viewpoint, unfortunately, because of what you find yourself in. But we have to also keep in mind that everyone else that we were used to having those daily connections with and stuff, they were struggling just as much on their end.
No, but
it still didn't make us feel any better.
It made us feel better, right? But then at the same time, right, I did know, but I was reminded and learned that, you make friends at work, but most of the time they're work friends.
Right.
Because your connection is your common connection is the work itself and the company. And then once that connection is gone,
right,
if you haven't taken time to actually build a relationship, then you have nothing in common anymore. So your spheres separate and your sphere moves off this direction. So like Tim Atchison, I worked with him, and he and I developed a relationship. In fact, he came to my dad's funeral, right, and helped.
Right.
That's how we met. Was when my dad passed away, and he said, "Hey, I'll come. I'll be at your funeral." That funeral. So he went, and then he actually helped us dig the grave to bury Dad in. Right. Miss Tim and I my brother Tim, we had to dig the grave to put the ashes in.
Right.
And Tim Atchison stepped up and said, "Hey, I will help." So,
I thought you were friends before that.
No, we knew each other, but we weren't friends.
Oh, wow.
Right. So
what a beautiful gesture. I honestly thought he was a really good work friend.
No, he became a really good work friend. He became a really
and
good
now
friend.
He's just an amazing friend. Yes.
So in the separation, he and I stayed in contact. Right.
Wow. That's super cool.
But I think I'd say all that because not only was it the normal chaos of COVID, but as the separation, there's a grieving process there because these are friends, and suddenly I'm like, who am I now? Right. So we really kind of hunkered back down in Claremore, and that's when we started the Sweet Drink Publishing, and we started getting your books ready and out, and then we worked on getting the Airbnb really functioning and flowing. And also working on the library to finish it up.
Right.
And then, I began to search around for a job, and had some good interviews. In fact, one I got pulled back down into Texas to interview. And they offered the job, and it was a great job, the same level I was at before, same pay, but it didn't feel right.
Something did not feel right.
So we didn't do it. And then ultimately, while I'm doing all of that, I say all by a year.
It was 1 week shy of 1 year before
right. So
God opened a major door.
So it was a year of not knowing what we are, who we are, what we're going to do, right? But doing what we knew to do, what we
Still
put our
kept
hand
trudging
to.
forward. Yes.
And, you know, it's kind of, you stir up enough, hopefully something sticks somewhere, then you can move on.
That's right.
So then we were traveling. Oh, a friend of ours needed to go to Quincy to pick up something. Remember? So we
wasn't Quincy.
Not Quincy, but it was up near.
It was
passed through.
It was passed through Springfield, Missouri.
No, it was passed through Quincy. Or not? No, you're right. Sedalia. It was Sedalia.
It's Sedalia, Missouri.
Yeah,
yes.
to go to Sedalia, Missouri.
To pick up a dining room set.
Pick up a dining room set.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were traveling through there, I saw a plant that used to be part of the company I was with, and I saw that they'd had an accident,
had an injury.
And so I just shot a message to the VP over that and said, hey, I just saw you had an injury at the plant when we was passing through. I hope nobody was seriously hurt.
Right.
So then he responded, and we got to talking, and then at some point down the road, he shot me a message.
That exact same day.
Was that same day?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
That day.
Because we had stopped to eat at Bandana's barbecue there.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so we sat down and we were eating, and I got a text, and he was like, hey, I don't know what your plans are now, but would you consider relocating to Springfield? Yeah.
Actually, you ended up, I don't know if you remember, but he actually asked if you had time to drop by. And you went into the plant because Stella and I sat out in the truck with you, I think, for a while. Isn't that the way it happened?
I don't remember that.
Or maybe, I'm sorry, maybe you were talking to him on the phone. I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. Yeah. Yes. You're right about that.
Because most of them weren't working in the plant at the time. It was still COVID.
Right. Yes.
So anyway, we got talking, and the company had bought a new company, and they needed help integrating them in. So we said, sure, we can do it. And without really thinking about it, because it just felt right. And it turned out it was right, even though it didn't make sense at the time. So honestly,
I was not looking forward to the move, but I was extremely grateful for the provision.
Right. And
I love Missouri. I mean, Missouri is a sweet place. So,
and the people in that plant, and I'll say the name, MD Kinney, right? The MD Kinney plant, the people there are phenomenal. They're incredible people.
That's wonderful.
And in fact, I still have a lot of connections from that time that we were there. But so we moved up, and we rented a house.
Yeah, well, we lived for almost 4 months in a hotel.
Didn't we?
Yes, yes, and it was out of our pocket.
Right.
We had to live there, and that was a major financial strain.
Right.
But then we were like, we can't do this any longer. And let's say, I didn't live in the hotel as much as you did because I was traveling
all this
back and forth. Yes.
Because we still had the Airbnb. We still had the project at the library. We still had the house
here, there, in
Claremore. And we approached that up there as though it was a temporary thing.
Right. Yes.
We don't know how long it was going to last.
And the reason why was because at that point, your mentor and dear friend and leader that God placed in your life had told you that he had been asked to come back to the company.
Right.
And that as soon as he could get things settled, he wanted you back.
Right.
In Oklahoma. He wanted you there.
Right.
And so that's why we put off purchasing a home there, because we didn't think we were going to
renting the home,
or even renting the home.
Yeah.
We thought that it was just going to be a short transition.
Right. So then he called at some point. He called and said, "Hey, I want you to come back to the team. This is what I'll offer." And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that because of the dynamics of how it would lay out."
Mm-hmm.
And had nothing to do with him, because I would work for him and be on his team any day of the week
Right.
because of the reporting structure. I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we found a home in Republic, Missouri.
No, in Republic.
Ozark.
Yeah, in Ozark.
In Ozark. Okay.
Yes, we lived in Ozark, Missouri for a year, almost for 9 months.
We rented a home there, and it was a beautiful home. I loved the neighborhood. We had the green space behind us, like we liked.
Yes.
We actually saw
green pasture with cows.
We had some wolves come up in the back.
Yes.
We had bears come across the back. I mean, it was really cool. It was everything that you would want. We had decent neighbors that they did their thing, we did our thing, and nobody was really wide streets, and it was just fun. But we knew it was just a rental place.
Yes. We hadn't rented a space since Eric was like 2 years old. That
had been almost 30 years, right?
Yeah, it had been a long time.
So anyway, so we were there for a year, and then we're thinking, okay, this isn't not changing anytime soon.
Yeah, because we thought things were going to change, and that we were going to be. We just kept having a high expectation that we were supposed to be back in Oklahoma.
Right. But then there came a point we said, you know what? We're not going back to Oklahoma. We're happy here.
Yeah.
So we started looking around, and we looked for something unique because we wanted something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we drove the realtor crazy because it would, she'd show us stuff and it was nice and it was good. It was a good price, but we're just like, yeah, that's not it.
Right.
And then we finally,
found our home sweet home.
We found our home sweet home, right? We
Mm-hmm.
found the mid 1800s farmhouse.
Right.
So we bought it and we went in and we started renovating it. And just as we finished the renovation.
No, not just as we finished. Now you're getting way ahead, babe. We had only lived there 6 months, and that's when they called you and wanted you back in Oklahoma. No, that's what happened.
Yeah, you're right.
So you were living here for almost 6 months and coming back home on weekends. I know our life has been a whirlwind. I know.
So then my other mentor went back. The reporting structure would change.
Mm-hmm.
He called me and he said, "Hey, when are you ready to come home?"
Mm-hmm.
Or when are you coming home? And I said, "I've not got an offer yet." And he said, "That's all it's going to take?" I said, "Yeah." So he made the offer. We talked about it. We prayed about it, but we also knew it was the thing, right? Because it's like every harp and every gong went off at the moment that we did it. So then we, then came back. I came back here. You stayed there. We finished that, right? So I'm working. I was traveling. That was 75% travel.
So it was basically a 3-year process,
right,
between Michael leaving his first workplace due to downsizing and then being brought back.
Right.
There was a 3-year span.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like it was just like basically all fell into place and everything just happened. But no, it was 3 long years.
Right. But in that, every one of those paths, every time it shifted and changed, it was a reset, right?
A complete reset.
Because our heart, our mind, our energy, everything
poured into it.
Was poured in aiming for, the direction we were going, because that was going to be our forever path. Right?
Yes.
Rarely in life are there forever paths.
That's right.
But
we were trying our best to be happy where we were and to try to find contentment, even though, if I'll just be honest, I was constantly being tugged at and pulled at. My heart, even though I was happy doing what we were doing, I missed our family.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Yeah. I missed our family desperately here in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. You missed them more than I did. I mean, I missed them, but you missed them more than I did, because I had work. I had my work family.
I know.
And I had that.
You had that fulfillment.
You had the cats and the cows.
Well, the cats at the end and the cows at the end.
Yeah.
In between, it was just Bogey.
Yeah.
Just Bogey and me.
Right. So, each one of those path changes, though, there was a separation and a new start, and there was a grieving process that went with that, right? That what if was always there. What if we had gone this path? What if we had stayed? What if this? What if that? And fortunately, we didn't spend a lot of time there because we had a marriage of trying to listen to the leading of God, and he shifted our directions many times. Because what we learned early in our marriage was if he ever showed us the end zone, we were going to do everything we can to get to that end zone. And we would skip the steps and we would jump and we would do all of this. So it was a challenge. But eventually, though, we ended up back in Claremore, and the path that we went on, I think was a good path. And
It was a beautiful path.
set us
The
up for
entire
where
path was beautiful.
but it set us up for where we are now, right?
Yes.
Is doing this.
Yes, it was
So-
every path, even though sometimes you may feel that your path is leading you down to this territory that is so terrifying, and you don't want to ask, or you're constantly asking. Let me rephrase that: the what ifs. Well, what if this, and what if that, and but I wanted this. I wanted this for my life. If we'll just calm ourselves, and just trust, in what God has for us is the best, his best. I think we're so spoiled at times that we just want to go to God and just give him our petition, what we feel is best for our lives. And, we just expect, because so many of us are spoiled to God and his riches and the things that he gives to us. We don't want to, we feel we're becoming enslaved if we have to take a path that doesn't feel comfortable to us.
And if we're not careful, we can get resentful,
right?
Get angry, because honestly, your first just any normal steps of grief, right? You become disoriented,
right?
Okay, who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? What's going on here? Which then turns into fear, right?
Yes.
So what if I'm not ready? What if this isn't right? This isn't there. How do I know what my next step was going to be? Is this path just gonna stop? And then it's true grief, because who we were died for this new who we are.
Yeah. Before this show started, we walked through. Usually we do not. This is not edited. Michael generally only takes out in any of these episodes only if there's like a lot of what do you call it? Quiet space,
or when I just say something.
That's not
or offensive, which
that is not true. You are a mess. That is not true. You don't say offensive things. But the thing is, if there's a lot of quiet space, his editing program will pull out that quiet space. But he had mentioned to me a couple of things that I might want to touch on, and it's true.
Because we talk about life changes, moves and houses and careers and all that, but it's far more than that, right?
Right. A lot of times, and two different things that he reminded me of that I had forgotten about, and I was like, oh wow, that would be good to talk about. Is in my personal life, there was a time, just doing them in order. When I was 16 and I had started dating a young man who was 18 years old, and we thought that we had fallen desperately in love. And it was my first major relationship with a young man. And so I had what you would call little boyfriends and things, but it wasn't anything significant. But I found myself engaged to this young boy after dating him for only 6 months. And my mom and dad were devastated, to say the least. And my mom, she did not trust this young man whatsoever. And my dad didn't trust him either, but my dad has always had the belief that you just have to make your own way,
Right.
and you just have to trust that as you're raising your children, they're going to they'll come up. That scripture, that talks about raising your child, and how they'll come back to knowing God, and
But part of their fear, though, really was, you had little boyfriends. You got a lot of little boyfriends. And when you fall in love,
fell
fell in love or in passion, you were all in. Right.
I was all in, and the thing is this young boy had been married. He was 18 years old. He was married and had gotten a divorce, and had a 2-year-old little daughter who wanted to call me mommy, and that was overwhelming for me. It was all stars, and just I know now it was nothing but puppy love, but in my head I thought that I was really in love with this dude, and he was proving to be more and more controlling as our relationship grew. And my mom saw all of this, and it got to where he was basically controlling me. I didn't see it as that. I just thought, oh, this is a guy that just cares for me. And long story short, he was starting to manipulate all of my time, and just taking over my entire life.
Right.
And he would show up at work and would want to take me to work and from work, and didn't want me going to my home church. He wanted me to go to his home church, and didn't want me hanging out with my friends on the weekends that I wasn't working, and did not want me spending time with my family on the days that I was off.
Those are major flags.
It's major flags. Serious flags. And my mom kept trying to, impart not only from a mother's heart, but just as someone that loved me dearly, because she also was my best friend, just saying there's something not right here, and you don't need to be raising a man's little girl, another woman's little girl at 16 years old.
Right.
And so anyway, but I won't go into why we split up, but gratefully we did split up after one night that could have ridiculously turned my life upside down for the rest of my life. And in many ways, that night did really, really mess with my life. But I'm just so extremely grateful that when I said it's done, I meant exactly what I said.
Right.
And my dad, my mom, and my brother were there in such a fantastic, beautiful way. And they always were there.
Right.
But yeah, if I had taken that path, there's no telling where my life would have ended up. I probably would have been, I would like to think best case scenario, honestly, is that I would have divorced him after, a year, 2 years, whatever, because of his controlling. But then again, it could have been drastically different.
Right.
And I could have been held under his thumb for the rest of my life because,
Right.
And I'm just grateful that God severed that relationship.
Right. Begin to open your eyes, and you finally saw what other people were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then there came a point, it's like, this is not healthy. I've got to do something different. So it changed your entire path, right? The direction that you had mapped out for your life.
That's right. That is right. I'm so incredibly grateful to not a mom who just was a support to me, but a mom who, and because she was my best friend, and a lot of people say parents can't be their child's best friend, and I do not agree with them at all on that. I agree that you can't always be your child's best friend. You can't always take them by the hand and just let them take off and do whatever the heck they want, and just pat them on the back and say, okay, I'm here to support you. there are times that a parent has to take a stand and say, this is not right, and they have to do their best to steer you
Right.
because of their love and it's their love and their guidance that is going to hopefully help shift your life in a positive manner. And that's what I'm not saying a parent should be completely controlling over you. That was never the case.
But they have a voice.
Yeah, that was never the case with my mom. My mom just had my best interest, my well-being at heart.
Now you were also incredibly naive, right? But we've talked, and some of the ones that you called your best friend, right? The behaviors and the attitudes they had were clearly not friend material, right?
Right. Whenever you have friends that I have always been a Christian,
right?
Basically from birth, I have followed after Christ and had some friends that I thought they were my dear friends, and they were good friends. I don't want to dismiss that. But as we got older, as you get older, you just start forming your own opinion. And a lot of times, if your opinion doesn't line up with another's opinion, then or beliefs, you are very quick to judge. And unfortunately, I had those friends. I loved my friends unconditionally.
Right.
I really did not care what type of lifestyle they were or whatever. I just loved them. I prayed for them. I accepted them for who they were. And in my case, I constantly had friends that I did have some very dear friends, but I also had friends that I thought were my what you would refer in school as best friends, who constantly put me down, constantly because I was grown up very naive that you love people, you take them at their word, you believe them, you believe in them and things. And I always let the fact that I was a Christian, I was not a in your face kind of Christian, but everyone knew that I was a believer. And so I did have friends that, ridiculed me for my beliefs. And, but yet I still thought that they were my friends. I just thought, well, they just pick on me. Friends pick on each other and things. But they would do and say cruel things to me because of my beliefs in God. And
And then there's separation comes, right? The paths change and it takes us down different ways. And if we're not careful, those changes, especially when people are involved, can reshape our heart in a bad way.
Right.
Where the Bible says, forgive while it's today.
Yes.
Lest there be found in you a root of bitterness, right? That springs up and grows. And so I think that this is back to that constant choice. Right? Bad things happen.
Right.
Wrong things happen, right? People are people, and at the heart, and most people are not good. We're not bad. I'm not saying they're evil.
Right.
I'm just saying we're very selfish.
Self-centered. And yes, self-focused.
And we do things sometimes not intentionally, but it's the wrong things that hurt other people in certain ways. So we have to make a choice. I'm either going to forgive them and let it go, whether they ever apologize or not, or I'm going to hold on to it. And if you hold on to it, then you're stunted right where you are at that moment. You can't grow, right? But if you let it go, then that reshapes your heart into that next adventure, that next opening. Because often these detours are really God's divine direction by the skies, right? We can't hear his voice directly, right? Especially when we're in the middle of something, right? If you're in the middle of I'm passionately head over in love with this process or this house or this path or this dream, we shut out everything else that doesn't line up with what we want to hear. So sometimes God has to show us his divine direction by shifting the road, by changing the road, by he doesn't make us, God is a gentleman. Will never make us do anything we don't want to do.
Right.
But I've said for my entire ministry, but he will often change what we want to do, right? By giving us opportunities to see something different, to see something better, to take a different path or different.
But are we willing to take the path?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, agreed.
Because and I have been saying this a lot, and I believe that so often, well, from birth, God has a very finite plan of what He wants you to experience, what He wants you to gather in your lifetime. And, it's up to, like you said, He helps to curve and shift. And when He sees that we're headed in a wrong direction, He wants to protect us from that,
Right.
and shield us from that. And so He steers us.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times I feel, and I will not steer from it, that God wants His ultimate best for us our entire lives. But a lot of times we're not willing to reach out for His ultimate best.
Yeah.
We are selfish, like you mentioned earlier, and we want to steer the wheel our entire lives, thinking that we know what's best for us.
Right.
And well, not our entire lives, but I'm just saying we're prone to do that.
All right. So Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Right.
Yes.
I think that often in these transition moments, especially the ones we've done, because ours have been major shifts and moves, right? And even when you were first pregnant, you only ended up pregnant with twins, ended up losing one of the twins.
Yeah.
Right? That's still something 38 years later that is still very real. But we have to understand and know that our trust isn't in what we see or what we feel or even what we've experienced a lot of times. Our trust is really in the one who is leading us and guiding us, right? He knows our destination when we can't see it.
Yeah.
He knows what's around that next path. We've encountered too many things in our marriage where we knew we were supposed to go left instead of right, or we were supposed to do something that was just completely different. And those times that we have said, you know what, I'm going to do this no matter what, and we just push and fight our way through it no matter what obstacle was, and we win. A lot of times we get there and it's like, oh my gosh, why are we here? Well, we're here because we chose and pushed and fought to be there, when the whole time we're getting these redirection nudges that we're looking at as obstacles or stumbling blocks when they're not.
Right.
Sometimes they are, right? Sometimes they really are, and we have to fight through them. But I think that's where that learning to pause and breathe comes in, because then you can start hearing and feeling and understanding. Yeah, I've told people all the time, and they say, well, I've got this decision to make, I don't know what to do. And I tell them, you will never go wrong if you follow the peace.
That's right.
Not the peace in your mind, right? Your mind wars with the peace, but they're deep within your heart, within your soul. There's a peace that is there.
Right.
A lot of times, if I just kind of get quiet and I consider the different options, there's an agitation that comes with a lot of them, but there's typically one or maybe even two that are just pure peace when I think about them.
Right.
As I go forward. And when I do that, even if it doesn't make sense to my mind, because normally it doesn't,
right,
it always works out the way it's supposed to work out for our good.
Yeah.
Right? Was it Romans 8:18? Right? That all things work together for the good of those, right, who are called, those who serve God, those who follow Him, those who are to His children, right?
Yes.
It doesn't say all things are good, because there's painful moments in there.
Right.
You go back to the children of Israel, right? They in bondage in Egypt. God sends them a deliverer, and they leave. And as soon as they leave, Pharaoh gathered up his armies and he started chasing them. And the first thing the children of Israel did, you brought us out here to die. If we'd have stayed there, at least we'd have been fed, right?
Yes.
But God went ahead and brought them on through, and they're at the crossroads, ready to step into the promised land. When Moses goes up into the mountains, and he's talking to God, and that's the whole Ten Commandment thing. So he comes down, and the children of Israel had turned back to what they knew, what was comfortable, which was worship. They made a golden calf, right? And they began to sacrifice to it. They began always looking back, saying, yeah, this, and this. And they ended up having to walk for 40 years until that generation was gone. So then they were ready to move over. Had they gone directly across the River Jordan into the Promised Land, then when they encountered the giants, when they encountered the obstacles and the walled cities and all that, they wouldn't have been ready for it.
No.
Because their mind was still back with what they had. Even though they hated that when they were there, their mind was still back rather than where God was leading them. And I think a lot of us, if we're not careful, we stay so focused on what was behind and what we felt like we lost or what we gave up, even though it was great in that season. We get so lost in that and hanging on to that season that we can't really find the peace in the next season.
It's funny that you mean, and you're right, so right about every bit of that. And it's funny that you say that because that also steers me back to God's best for us. And one of the last thing you had mentioned to me before the show started was, what about whenever you almost took the nanny position in California? And so whenever, I had broken off with that boy and had got my life back on track and graduated high school. And by then, Michael and I had started writing to one another. I had contacted him.
I like to say you chased me down when I was in Europe.
Yes. And so
you're a stalker.
I guess I basically was a stalker because we wrote each other once a day, at least once a day. So we constantly had the letters coming in and out all of the time. But anyway,
just to be clear, you tracked my mom down to get my address.
I did not track your mom down. That was a weird situation within itself. That was a situation where you were home visiting and you waited forever to come through my line, let people after people after people come through with their groceries. I was extremely a very fast checker. And you wanted to visit with me, and then you told me that you were getting to head back out to Italy, and my heart was so sad because I hadn't seen you 2 years or something. And so how are we getting on this subject?
I have no idea.
But anyway, long story short, after you left that day, my heart was sad because I wanted to be able to stay in contact with you. And so I had gone up to the restaurant where Mom worked and had no idea, even though I was friends with your mom and stepdad at church, had absolutely no clue that she was your mom. And me and Mom were sitting, Mom was on her break, and we were sitting at the bar, and your mom was making coffee or something. And I said, Mom, you're not going to believe who I ran into. And she said, who, babe? And I said, I ran into Mike Sermon today. And she said, Mike Sermon? And I said, yes. Remember, he was the young boy that came several years back to our home, and we fixed him the homemade lemonade. And she's like, oh, yes, Mike.
The one whose heart I toyed with.
He was such a sweet young man.
Yes, he was.
And I said, he came through my line today, and my heart is so sad because he left back out.
And all I can remember is how bad I did him back then.
He left back out to go to Italy. He's stationed there in the service. And I said, I wish within everything that I would have asked him for his address because I want to stay in contact with him. And Minnie overheard our conversation. I said, but I had no clue who would have his address. And Minnie turned around from getting coffee, and she had this silly little grin on her face. And she said, well, I know how to contact Mike Sermon. And I said, you do? And she said, yes, he's my son. And me and my mom just were elated. We just,
That's funny.
yeah. But anyway, we're sidetracking.
Yeah.
But
But no, we're not though, because
Okay.
while all that was going on,
mhm.
then your next story kind of rolls into that too.
It does come in. You and I had started writing, but I was trying to figure out what to do with my life.
Yep.
And I was very, I don't want to say envious, but I was very envious of the life you were living. And I've always believed that you should ask God if you're struggling in your life or what to do that with your life, that whatever you surround your life with, it should always be using your gifts and
Yeah, I
talents.
agree.
And so anyway, I had asked God, I was like, God, what can I do that can help me be able to grow? That all my friends were starting to get married, and many of them moving away had left for college and things. Some had gone into the military. And so I basically was pretty much the only single girl in my friends, other than my younger friends, that was still hanging out in the area, other than one, my dear friend Barbara.
Or say Barbara. Yeah.
But Barbara was my only dear friend that was basically still around. But I just wanted more. And she actually was looking also into moving away and helping care for elderly and move in as homekeeper, helping keep a home for them and take care of them. And I thought, wow, I'm going to be here all by myself. And so I looked at the Tulsa world one day and saw that there was an opportunity that I could become a nanny for this family, and which I had been doing basically all my teenage years anyway, when I wasn't working in a department store. And so I thought, well, it's something I'm good at. But part of taking care, being this nanny, was also would have been caring for their father who had become a paraplegic, and I was going to have to help him and different things with his physical therapy and the swimming pool and different things like that. And so it was going to be a very overwhelming.
Yeah, you're like 12 pounds. You can even open a
I really was a very small person, very, very tiny person. I was trying to figure out how in the world I was going to swing that, but I applied for it, and I actually had been hired sight unseen, other than you had to send a picture of yourself with your your, I don't know, resume or whatever, so they could see, I guess, your size or whatever, and you had to tell a lot about yourself and things. And my mom had, once again, those red flags coming up,
there, and I have those red flags.
I know, but I was a young, naive girl, right? And now looking at it, seeing what it was all about and everything, now I know that there is an extremely good chance, because they were paying for a one-way ticket to California. I understand, Michael, but I was just a young kid that was a dreamer, and don't laugh. It is something. And think about how many
that happens every day.
I know. Think about the sex trafficking that goes along.
Yeah.
And my mom, once again, those massive red flags, were going off. And of course, my dad was trying to be supportive of me, but yet once again, saying, sis, I don't want you to do this, but at the end of the day, you have to make up your mind what's best for you. And mom, that's her baby bird that's about to take off out of the nest, and red flags going galore. And me and mom actually got into some serious arguments over that.
Yeah. And what's crazy is before that, your furthest point that you'd ever been from home was one trip up to Yellowstone.
Yes.
And then everything else, you were within 50 miles of where you were born.
Right. Exactly. With 35 miles.
35 miles, yeah.
30 or 35. I don't know. But yes, I'm so grateful that I had written you and told you what my game plan was. And you were like, that's a horrible idea.
Yeah, stupid idea.
Do you know what could possibly happen? And, sadly, it took you, my mom, and the soft whispers of my dad, the three of you, is what convinced
Yeah.
me that it was a ridiculous idea. And I just wanted, I think in my mind, I wanted to live this grand life that I thought you were living while you were away in Italy, because you would talk about the carnivales and
Right.
the different culture and everything. And it sounded so intriguing and
Right.
so magical. And so I just got caught up in your life, and I thought, well, I don't want to live in a small town my entire life,
Right.
even though my ultimate goal was to be a mom and
Yeah,
have
that's-
kids
Yeah.
and to live in a small town. I loved my small town. I just felt like I was the only fish living in my small town.
But here's the interesting thing, right? At some point, you had to make a decision. You had to take a step of faith. And
Right.
then that step of faith really is in that when nothing makes sense, that in between moment when you had to say, okay, I'm not going to take the nanny job.
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
That took a step of faith to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here.
Right.
Because we hadn't made future plans at that point.
No, but it was during that shift, during that, and honestly, if I will be honest with myself, you said always look to the peace, right? If I'll be honest with myself, I there was no full peace there. I mean, there was an excitement there about the new journey,
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
the new cool what ifs,
which
and
plays into your biggest weakness, right? You like the unknown. You like
I
the
do like that, and
you
the
like
unknown.
that adventure of that
Mhm.
gypsy.
It is
mindset.
because I do have that gypsy heart,
Yeah.
and so, but if I had taken those steps, you and I wouldn't be where we are
That's true.
today.
That is very true.
I know that I was supposed to have been stepping into a full-time nanny role and basically a physical therapist,
Right.
even though I had no clue what the heck. Supposedly, this is what I was
Yeah.
going there for, but I could have walked into a massive life of turmoil,
Oh, what's that? What's that book?
dominion,
That book you were listening to, where the nanny starts. Next thing you know, she's getting locked in the upstairs.
She was upstairs. Yeah, she was locked in the upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about the housemaid. I can't
Yeah.
remember what that is that I just
but-
recently read.
But it's when those things don't make sense. That's when our faith has to grow. We either lean into our faith and trust that there's a better plan, there's a better path, right? And whether your faith is in God or whether it's just in the universe or however you want to look at it, there's a path that is there, that is laid out before you. And if we're not so busy chasing our own path, our own whatever distractions, then we can see that path.
That's
And we
right.
can feel the path, and we can walk the path. But we're human.
Mhm.
And even when we're making the choice to walk down that path, there is a frustration or a heartbreak or something that we have to deal with
Mm.
to let go of this and go to there, right? Story that went around on the internet several years ago was about the little girl that she had a little plastic ring that she loves, her favorite ring in the world, or a bracelet.
Mhm.
And her daddy would come up to her and say, "Can I have that bracelet?
Mhm.
Will you give me your bracelet?" And she said, "No, Daddy, I love this bracelet." Well, eventually she said yes,
Mhm.
and she gave him the bracelet. And then he reached behind him and he pulled out a box with actually a real bracelet,
Mhm.
right? And I think a lot of us are that way. We chase the bauble,
Right.
hold on to the bauble when that true treasure is there waiting for us, right?
Mhm.
Because had you gone any of those paths,
We wouldn't
we
be
wouldn't
where
be-
we are today.
our boys would
Our boys wouldn't be here. Our
grandkids
grandbabies. Everything turned out. I feel, even though we've had our ups and downs, I mean, even on the fairy tales of Disney,
Right.
there's always the ups
Yeah.
and downs, right? Even though people always think it's just a fairy tale dream, and it'll make it look all
out the down.
right. I mean, life is about ups and downs, but I feel that I am so incredibly grateful that I have lived a fairy tale life. And I would not have had that should I have.
Yeah.
And I had completely forgotten about that whole nanny thing.
Yeah.
Except you brought it up, and I'm so grateful that you said, "Hey, there's a good chance that things may have taken a complete different turn in life."
But I mean, even when you bring it more real time, there's opportunities that have been given to us over the years that had we taken that opportunity, the ultimate path once down the road when we look back and see where it was leading would not have been healthy for us.
Well, I mean, when you were in, and we did not discuss this, but when you were in politics all those years, and everyone was coming to you, trying to encourage you to run for state office, which ultimately they wanted you to run as mayor. I mean, as governor.
Right.
I did not feel called whatsoever for those positions in life.
Right.
I gladly embraced being the mayor's wife, but under no circumstances did I want you, me, and our children constantly, in the limelight, as far as constantly everyone in our business and things concerning our home life and things. When you move up in politics, you are under the spyglass. You can't do every single thing. Doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad, if you're human, if you're
boys are
not
like they were, because no matter what they did,
they were always
knew before they got home.
Yeah, they were always judged on everything just from you just being the mayor.
Right.
And I did not want that life. Yeah. And I can't even imagine how our life could have been. I don't want to imagine.
Right.
It just makes me feel icky inside. Not that there aren't some incredible politicians out there that, have their heads on straight. But because of you being in politics for so many years, for 12 years, we had seen a lot of people that started out one way and sadly ended up in a complete other belief system. They had their heads on straight. They always put God first and their belief system first, and something shifted and something changed, and not for the better.
Right. And what would have been especially dangerous for me in that role was I was still searching for who I was.
Yeah, you were.
Right. So I wanted it. I was right, but
you desperately wanted it.
I wanted it for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I honestly felt I could serve, but I wanted
you were a very good servant, but you were struggling with identity and everything.
Which meant that would have been a trap.
It would have been a trap because you could have been enticed to a different world than what you really, truly wanted or needed for yourself.
Yeah. All in the effort to do the right thing.
Right.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, when we changed that direction, that was tough. Right.
It was tough, but to me, a peace came in our lives that we hadn't experienced, a different type of peace, even though I have no regrets whatsoever of all the years, because when you were pouring in the community, I was pouring into the community just right alongside you. But there, to me, there was just a different kind of peace in my life that fell into the boys' lives, and I saw that you struggled for a bit, but then I also saw it in your life as well.
No, it was right, because I had to make a choice. I had to give up that which I thought I wanted for that which I wanted and needed.
Right.
And I think that's back to the story of the bottle. Like, hang on to the bright shiny bottle, or I could grab hold of the true treasure.
God's best.
And God's best, right? So I think, though, there's what we've experienced and what we've been talking about is not unique to us, right? Our circumstances are tailored for us, but everybody's going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through those seasons. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. We don't know what this next path looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And we get very agitated, and we get very nervous and fearful, and because as people, especially Americans, we are very action oriented. We just jump out, start doing stuff,
Right.
and you see it in people who are single a lot, right? They're looking for that right one, and
Yes.
you knew when you were young, you knew you wanted to be married, you knew you wanted a family, so you had some boyfriends, right? And each one of them, you had the thought, this could be the one. Um, and I think that it's when you take that moment to give yourself permission just to pause,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
To hesitate and stop.
breathe,
Yes.
breathe, right? Acknowledge and grieve this that you're letting go.
Right. Right.
That this season is past, right? It'll always be part of me, but it's past.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just pause, take a breath, and just kind of let that stillness settle in, right? And if you listen to very many of our podcasts, this one or Lead Well Lit Whole, you heard us say that time and time again. There's power in the pause. There's power. There's power and liberation in that holy pause.
And if that word pause bothers you, if you're saying, oh my gosh, every time he speaks, he talks about pausing, well, more than likely, if that is bothering you, more than likely, that's probably a signal that you're not taking the time.
Yeah.
You're not taking the time that is needed to help direct you, and taking time, fortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, means to take a pause.
Right. And a pause doesn't mean stop.
Right.
Pause means pause.
Well, to some people, a pause does mean stop. So it depends on who, what personality type you are. But I agree with you. It doesn't mean stop.
Right.
But a lot of people, when they stop at when they go through a stop sign and there's down the road, there's a yield sign, you get frustrated with those people that come to a complete stop. But to them, it does mean stop, even though it isn't a stop.
I guess
and you're supposed to keep going.
I'm looking at it different then, because when I see a stop sign, and when I think about this, you paused at that stop sign,
right?
But you didn't put it in park and turn the motor off.
Oh, exactly.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Everybody's brain can look at things a little differently.
That makes sense.
And so we want to hopefully reach everyone that's listening, right?
Yeah.
To what resonates with everyone.
That's true.
And so, yes, but pause, when he is talking about pause, it's a positive thing. It's not a stop every single thing you're doing. It's just exactly what he's saying. Stopping and just pause for a moment and take some thought into the next step instead of barreling through, like you said, like we're accustomed to doing, right? Humans in general.
And we get on autopilot and we just push because this is my path. And you see it. I talk to people all the time. Well, how did you end up in this on this career path? Well, it's because my mom and dad wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but you're miserable, right?
And that just breaks my heart.
But we do that to ourselves, right? We think. I've always said, that dog that chases the car, he doesn't know what to do with it when he catches it.
It's true.
And many of us are spending our lives chasing a car,
right?
Or chasing something. But we don't even know what we're chasing or why we're chasing it, just because there's something that says, I want that.
Yes. And then we get it, and then we're like, oh my goodness, now what? Now that I have it, what the heck? What do I do now?
So, before I say, pause. Mm-hmm. Give yourself permission to breathe.
Yes.
Just think about where I'm at, right? Especially during change. We're talking about nature and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In this moment, it's okay. What changed? Grieve that. Let it. Don't get stuck in the grief, but grieve it. Let it go. Then, for me, because of my faith, it's like, okay, God, I don't know what's next.
Right.
But I want to invite you into the unknown with me, because you're the God who knows.
Amen.
Right? You're the guy who understands.
That's right.
You're the one who's working on my behalf, even though I can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So show me where you're already at work.
Right. You're working in the foreground and in the background.
Right.
On my behalf. Yes.
Help me know where I need to trust you right now.
That's right.
Right.
Mhm.
And I had a visit with a friend the other day, and we were talking about that gap in between where you are and where God is calling you.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I typically ask at that time, my prayer is, God, show me what you need me to do. And he
Mhm.
said, that's the wrong prayer. He said,
Mhm.
your prayer should be, God, where do I need to trust you right now?
Wow.
Right? He says it's totally different. One is dependent on you, the other is dependent on God.
Wow. This is so true.
And when you're in that unknown spot, you have to rely that God is the one setting that path before you. And I never thought about it that way.
I hadn't either.
And then for me, it was true, because if I'm trusting that He's directing my path and He's going before me, right? Because we sing the songs, He is the way maker, right?
Right.
He's one that makes a path in the desert, right? Or streams in the desert. He's one that brings all that provision there. There's peace in that,
Right.
because God's blessings don't come with confusion and turmoil.
Absolutely.
There's always peace that's there. So if my trust is there, then I can rest in His peace as He shows me what He's doing and where He's doing. But He can't do it until I silence everything,
Mhm.
until I pause and allow Him to show me. I
Right.
get myself out of the way,
Right.
and so I can see Him, right? And then I have to be open to a pivot. I have to be open to the new possibilities that I wasn't even aware of until I got to this point.
Right.
I mean, how many times do we travel and we think, hey, what's over that hill? And all we can see is getting to the top of the hill. But we get to the top of the hill, and suddenly it's like there's like the road splits off and goes multiple different directions, and we have to decide
Which
okay,
way?
I didn't even know that was an option back when I was on the backside of that hill.
Right.
But now I'm here. Maybe I don't want to go this over here where I thought I want to go. Maybe I want to go over here.
Right.
Right. And I think God does that in our lives a lot if we allow Him to.
Mm-hmm.
And then we develop a practice of gratitude.
Yes.
Right. We look for those blessings. And children of Israel wandering through the desert, they were so busy with what I gave up back here, what I gave up when I was in slavery, right? That they didn't focus on the quail that they got to eat every day. They didn't focus on the manna that showed up every day. They didn't focus on the water that came from the rocks in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
right? The clouds that covered the sun, so they didn't burn up, right? They didn't focus on any of that because they're so busy looking back.
Right.
We do the same thing. Right. I can think back to my high school or the best jobs I've ever had, and I can get so focused on what I gave up there that I don't see that next opportunity.
Right.
Or I can become so I identify with it so tightly that when that next opportunity shows up, the only opportunities I can see are what line up with that.
Right.
When that may not be what God wants at all.
Exactly.
Right. So
It's true.
I guess really though, for me, my encouragement really is there's a path to peace. Right? Pause, pray, pivot, and practice.
Right.
And if you can allow those 4 P's in your life, and you can make them a standard part of your habits and your mindset, then where you're looking for peace right now, you can find that peace. Because we've had to make choices many times in our lives to be at peace with one another.
Of course.
We didn't understand, but we're going to be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually the fight becomes about the fight if you're not careful.
And no one wins.
And nobody wins that. And the fighting down the wrong path just because we're too headstrong to pause and understand that might not be the direction we're supposed to go. Nobody wins that either.
No.
So I guess really, if we look at closing this time out, my encouragement is you're not lost. Right? You may not know where you are. Tammy, all the time we travel, Tammy's like, you know where we are? And I said, no. She said, so we're lost. I said, we're absolutely not lost. We are right here. And so I guess I do know where I am. I don't know where I am in relation to where I want to go, but I do know where I am right now.
That's right.
Right. But life feels that way a lot of times. But if we remember, though, that God never abandons us when he changes our route,
That's right.
it makes it easier for us then to trust that GPS of his voice speaking to us.
His soft, gentle whispers.
Yeah. So if the path's changed, it's because he saw something ahead that we couldn't.
Yes.
Right? Used to when something would happen and we'd get delayed or whatever, and Tammy would say, well, there's a reason for the delay.
Yes.
And then we'd eventually get going and found out that there was a massive wreck or something pile up or a fire or something.
Yes.
Or the time that we actually canceled a revival we were holding, and only because we would have got stranded out in the middle of the desert during the summer.
Yes.
Yeah. God saw it, but we couldn't.
No, we didn't.
But we could trust that he knew what was best for us.
That's right.
All right.
What's that? The thing we say, trust and obey.
Yeah. Yeah. For there's no other way.
That's
to be happy
right.
in Jesus. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. That is true. All right. So baby, I know we haven't, but I think we would. I think we should. You mind just praying for our guests?
No, I don't mind whatsoever. Father God, I just praise you and I thank you, Lord, for every listener that has taken time out of their day, God, to sit and listen to this program, Father. I ask, God, that you meet them at the point of their need, Lord, wherever they are, God, whatever journey that they are on or they feel you're leading and guiding them to, God. I ask, God, that you would help them be able to have the courage to, first of all, trust in you, God. Second of all, to just take that pause, Lord, and to say, you know what, this road that I was traveling, it isn't your best for me, God. And I want to take in your absolute best for my life. And I have to trust you, God, and knowing that whatever that is, Father, that you are making the way, and it's going to be much more beautiful than I could ever imagine or dream. And I just praise you, God, and I thank you for working out beautiful miracle after miracle in these viewers' lives, in our friends' lives, God, our families' lives, Father. I praise you and I thank you, God, for leading them to ultimate victory, Father, whether it's healing in their bodies, whether it's moving to a new community, whether it is taking up a new job, whether it is just learning how to love in a different way, whatever is going on in their lives, God, I just praise you and I thank you for wrapping your arms around them and just showing them the way. And we praise you, God. We thank you and we give you the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And my prayer and blessing is this, that God would fill you with peace, would
Yes.
fill you with strength, fill you with health,
Yes.
as he leads you and guides you, and you find rest in understanding that sometimes the detour is the destination. If the path you were walking just changed, please know this, you're not lost.
God hasn't abandoned you. He's just leading you somewhere your old map couldn't take you.
It's okay to grieve what you thought would be, but don't miss the beauty rising on this new road.
Because even detours can hold miracles, sometimes especially detours.
So thanks for sharing this stretch of the journey with us today. We hope it reminded you that you're not walking alone.
We'd love to keep walking with you, so if this encouraged your heart, share it with a friend who might need it too.
And until next time,
We're cheering for you every mile.
We go where the wild wind